So when Professor De Conti told me to do the presentation, I had in mind that we will have undergrad student, masters, and PhD. So please bear with me as I go along, because the first slides comprise a bit of setting the background for understanding and application of macro. So please tell me if you can't hear me. Okay. So the way the slides are set in the first slides, given that I'm going to do an application of a macro model to commodity exporting economies such as South Africa, you can think about Brazil, and other members of the BRICS. So the first few slides tells us a little bit about how do we view macro. So nowadays, macro mainstream, we view macro mainstream from micro understanding. So any understanding of macro comes from micro. So I'll start with that, so bear with me. And I'll go on to look a little bit at the factual details on the South African economy, which is not a very good picture that we will paint at the moment, given that it's sort of being low growth, high unemployment, and getting indebted, and so on. And then after that, we'll apply a little bit of the macro to some of the work I'm doing on commodity exporting economies. So that's sort of a small open economy that have a commodity sector. It's a dual sector economy. And we look mainly at how commodity price shock translate to the macro economy. So if you think about commodity exporters, terms of trade shock, that is the relative price of your export to import, or commodity price shock and real exchange rate plays a great role in influencing the business cycles of the macro economy. So we'll look a little bit at that. So excuse me for that, but I will have to go through it. It's for our undergrad, which I thought will have a bit of undergrad. So any understanding of an economy comes from the idea that's made up of industries, and industries are made up of firms. So firms, producers and sell goods, and on the other side, of course, you have consumers that demand and consume the goods. So if you think about any market economy, it is basically comprised of these industries. So when we look at our textbooks, the market is defined over a certain time period. So you speak about the demand, that is the buying and the selling by firms of a particular product over a given time period. So we'll look at the different markets and industries that comprise the South African economy. Of course, your supply and demand, the main motivation of the upward sloping and downward sloping demand curve, come from your econometrics of looking at those supply over time. So if you look at the market and its supply over time, it will increase. The price will increase, meaning that you would supply more as price increases, and so with demand and so on. So in terms of market organization or industrial organization, you can think about when this market has many firms, and we speak about a competitive industrial market. So there would be some competitive industries and market in South Africa. For instance, when you have South Africa is quite a big producer of fruits, nuts, and so on. So you'll have many firms, large number of firms, and large number of consumers, and you will tend to think that this is a particular market whereby price are taken as given. Whereas you have other industries, for instance, one of the energies producing sectors, state-owned. I don't know if you've heard on the news about Eskom, but Eskom is a state-owned enterprise, and it's sort of in the sole supplier on the market. And when you have a sole supplier, of course, different from a competitive case that equates the price to marginal cost, now you have the leverage of setting a price which is a wedge on your cost because you sort of having market power. And also when you have monopolies and you have single buyer type of view, you can think about this one. So macro theory has a lot to do about determining those equilibrium price and quantities that we see in our market, and we have to aggregate all of these to get an understanding of macro. So later on, when I make use of the model, which is applied to the South African economy, you will see I'll make use of these elements. So I will, when you think about a firm, you have in mind a production function. And when you think about the economy, it has sort of an aggregate production function. The Y's that you see in our textbook, real GDP. So this Y comes from a production function, which is a function of, the factor inputs, labor, and capital. And from those production function, of course, then with some assumption of diminishing marginal return, you get sort of upward sloping marginal cost, which is your supply curve. And from consumer's point of view, you have marginal utility and you have utility maximization, and that produces the demand curve because you have diminishing marginal utilities that you get from product, and that produces downward sloping demand curve, and that combined together give you sort of general equilibrium. So an application of this, I'll do that in the model, even though I won't go into the detail of the maths because Prof said they can people remove all the technicalities from the model. So let's bear that in mind. Speaking about the South African economy, of course you can interrupt me at any time and ask me a question if you want. So, as you know, the country gained accedence to democratic state in 1994. And prior to 1994, you have, a particular regime, the apartheid regime, which means that majority of the population did not have much human rights, and economic freedom were pretty much undermined by the system. But since 1994, you have quite a lot of development happening in the country in terms of course, nowadays you have a democratic state completely, but you have a lot of, in terms of social welfare being provided. So you have basic amenities, water, electricity, and all those are being given up universal coverage. Nowadays, we're also speaking about the national health insurance, which is going to be sort of universally provided in South Africa. So all of these are important happening in the country in terms of its social welfare. But when you speak about this social welfare and its provision, you also have to be careful that it's viewed as sort of a provision of insurance. For instance, when you speak about unemployment benefits, you have certain probability of you being unemployed, and given that you're employed, you pay your premium based on the probability of you being unemployed, and that premium, of course, that you contribute, that's only the point it contributes to your insurance scheme, should you be unemployed. The same goes for the health insurance. So it should be seen more as a form of insurance. What the recent Minister of Social Welfare and Development spoke about is that those type of expenditures, rather than being seen as handouts and payouts to people, should be seen more as a form of insurance. That's also important when we think about these things. In terms of macro policies, if you know, South Africa has the same sort of inflation targeting policy as Brazil, and we target inflation between 3 and 6%. So that's a mandate of the South African Reserve Bank. It targets inflation rate between 3 and 6, and it has been doing quite well. as we know, independence of central banking has led to quite a lot of improvement in terms of monetary policies across economies. So inflation is what in a well managed point of view within the 3 to 6%. The debt, the public debt, later on when we go through the figures, though has been within the prescribed numbers that IMF and World Bank would give you for developing countries, recently, given that a number of state-owned enterprises, as we mentioned, ESCOM, or the South African Airways, all these enterprises have been in debt, so we're sort of having a bit of growing debt and growing debt problem. So you will see that the debt is increasingly upward slope path, which also means, you know, the greater tax burden and all of this on the population. And given that you have an income base which is not big at all in South Africa, you can imagine that the tax is heavily burdened on the section of people working. So South Africa is one of the countries that have the highest rate of unemployment, and we'll try to see later on why is that so. And it relates a lot to what is happening in Brazil in terms of the manufacturing sector. So you have this structural transformation, but we also have to think about it. Why is it that, you know, you sort of shift very quickly from your primarily agricultural, mining and so on, and you have to move to your manufacturing and then to the service industry. But with the new developments that you have in the world, you also see that structural transformation jump quite quickly from primary sector to service sector. And that's also a problem, because if you looked at phases of industrial development of countries like Malaysia that did very well in terms of building a manufacturing sector, that's not happening so much in South Africa. So you have a rather declining sector of the manufacturing industry is declining, and given that people, you know, majority of people are sort of low skill, even low education and human capital is being built up every time, but low skill and low education is a permanent feature in the country, and hence your manufacturing sector cannot absorb these people, and you can imagine what happens to your unemployment rate. And also capital deepening and the development, technological development is very good, but you can think about, you can go at the expense of the labor sector. So we are going to speak first about the why that you see in your textbook, which is aggregate output, real GDP, and think about that as coming from production function. But now it's sort of a basket of goods. And that would be the GDP of the country. It is aggregated in terms of its expenditure. So if you looked at those numbers, for instance, if you looked at consumption expenditure as a fraction of GDP, it's not much different from the rest of economies that you see in the world. Yeah? The fraction of consumption to GDP for many countries are roughly 60%, and that's what you see if you take in terms of million. So that would be like 1.8 trillion on 3 trillion. So consumption and GDP, and that give you like 60%. And the fraction of government spending is roughly 20%, which is in line with factual basis of many economies around the world. Investment is at 20%. We would like to have it much more than 20%. If you think about a small open economy, it needs a lot of investment, and 20% at the moment is not a very good number. Net export this year is positive, but most of the time net export has been negative. And when you think about a negative trade balance is not necessarily a bad thing, because a negative trade balance also means that you have a capital account surplus, meaning that you borrow from other countries. So as long as you can borrow and invest well, that should not be a problem, but for South Africa, it's quite problematic. In terms of disaggregating this real GDP in terms of its value added, these are some of the sectors whereby in the former table you did not see the problem, but here you start seeing what's happening to the economy. So if you looked at primary sector together with manufacturing, which employs the low scale and medium scale, you can see that finance industry and services, which are the rest here, finance industry itself can account for all of them combined. And now we are speaking about an economy like South Africa, where the majority of people are low scale. So this already gives you a picture about a falling manufacturing sector and an increasing service sector, but a service sectors that use a lot of capital deepening, a lot of high-skilled people, and so on. And hence, that goes to some extent to explain why is it that you have unemployment at such a high rate, especially you cannot absorb the low and semi-skilled people in the country. So that would give you the sectoral growth up to 2018. And you can see that if you look at the primary agricultural and the manufacturing sector, they are not the one contributing to this growth. Indeed, they have been declining over time. You have more of an increasing share of those growth being done by the service sector rather. And that would be the 2019 figures. So if you see the professor that spoke about the Brazilian economy and that we had quite a negative picture of the economy, so you can think about this picture now, because the forecast for GDP growth in 2019 was supposed to be between 1 and 2%. It's going to be less than 1%, even maybe between 5%. And you can see that what's contributing a lot to those negative growth, your falling manufacturing industry in your primary sector. And what's picking up is a bit of your service sector. If you compare the country to world growth, you can still see that in terms of world growth, which has been downgraded due to the fact that you have present trade wars and world economy is not doing so well. But you can look at South Africa, which is in the last row here. You can even compare it to developing countries and sub-Saharan African economies, and you can see that this growth are much lower. So this number that you see 1.5 here, this is going to be downgraded to 0.5%, less than 1%. So world on a world basis also is not doing very well. Look at other African economies which are growing much faster, because they're sort of doing the structural transformation on a more rational basis. When you look in terms of the nominal figures, i.e. the change in this basket, in the price of this basket of goods, which is the CPI, so it's change of the CPI, which is the inflation rate, you can see that South Africa has not done very badly. So this would be the target band, 3 and 6%, and you can see that from it implemented inflation target in 2000, and you can see that from roughly post-2000, things has not been so bad in terms of controlling the inflation rate. So the central bank has done a very good picture in terms of the bringing down inflation. This would be the public debt, so that's another facet of the fiscus, and this would be the debt to GDP ratio, and that's over the past 150 years or so. So you can see that even though South Africa did not start up with a very good debt to GDP ratio, but over the years you can see that this has been brought down to a very good level. Now there's no like single debt to GDP ratios that you can sort of prescribe for all economies around the world. It has to go up to a development stage. So for developing countries, for instance, if you look at works by Rogoff and Reynolds, you will see that a detrimental debt to GDP ratio would be if you reach above 90%. That's when it starts to sort of being negative to your GDP growth. But South Africa sort of has that within reach, but not so recently. So recently, if you look at the level of debt, and this is not because the government is borrowing to invest. It's not that government is borrowing from foreign economies to invest into productive sectors. That's not the point. The point is that there are many state-owned enterprises which are doing very badly, and that's what explaining this upward trend in the public debt. Turning to the figures that's going to shock you quite a bit, of figures in the labor market. So the labor market, South Africa has got a labor force rate. The labor force rate is at 60%. So that would be the labor force to the working age population. So that's not much different from many economies. But when you look at the unemployment rate, nowadays stand at 6.8 million people being unemployed, and that's close to 30% unemployment rate. And that's really, even though it has been always been high across the years, but that's really shocking numbers. And that has a lot to do with the structural transformation and the fact that your manufacturing sector cannot absorb the excess supply of low and medium skill on the market. If you look at the broad measure, which includes those people that have given up searching, that raised to 39%. We'll look at some other figures of where those unemployment rates are concentrated. And you can think about labor market regulations. There are some which are good labor market regulations, others which are not so good, which are not so conducive to your employment growth. For instance, nowadays the government has already implemented minimum wage. So minimum wage gives, of course, the social minimum welfare that people would need, but also you have to be careful about your minimum wage in a country whereby productivity can be very low. So this has to be engineered very well. On the other side, you also have negative hiring costs and high prohibitive hiring costs, which deter small and medium enterprises from hiring people. So perhaps these are sort of being measured, and nowadays the latest policies that they want to implement is an income grant. Income grant is good, but you have 16 million people in the country that have access to grants. So imagine that these people, for them, working and going to grants is seen as being substitutes. So providing grants should be seen more as a form of providing some form of insurance rather than being handed out to people. Because we don't want the population to live on handouts. So this would be a bit the unemployment rate over the past 10 years. So as you can see, it has always been high, but most recently also increasing tremendously. And these are the employment rate, and you can see that in 2019 it decreased from 16.4 million to 16.3 million. And you looked at the categories by which the unemployment would be classified, you can see that when you look at the education level, that those were secondary school and less than secondary school, and these are secondary school backward. So you can see that unemployment is concentrated among the low education, low skilled people. When you look in terms of the age, the population group, and you can see that the age group, you can see that it is concentrated among the young people. 15 to 24 have an employment rate of 50%. And when you look in terms of the population group, you can see that it is concentrated among those who have been previously disadvantaged. Mainly it is the majority population, which is a black majority population. And employment is highest among black women, especially. So declining manufacturing industry and other basic industries that we have is not definitely a solution for coping with these problems. So this gives you an idea of the employment share, and you can see that the manufacturing share is 10%, and service sector has already shot to over 20%. When we look a little bit deeper into why is it that the manufacturing sector is sort of declining and not able to absorb the people that we would want to be employed and lift them out of the poverty and inequality. If you look at the price of manufacturing goods, you can see that it has had a declining manufacturing price over the years, and that also contributes to the lower profitability and this declining sector. But when you look at other countries, there has been private and public sector endeavor to prop up, to encourage those industries, manufacturing and so on, to grow and to absorb a bit the mass of unemployed people. And these are the things that we have to think a lot more. So some key explanations about the current patterns that we see has a lot to do because of, structural transformation which is not being properly implemented, neglecting of manufacturing sectors that could employ a number of people at the lower and medium scale, failing public enterprises, so governments have to be more strict about that. Recently, with the new president, Cyril Ramaphosa, there's a bit more faith in the politics of the country, as we know for the past 9 years, has been quite on a downward trend. So we have had quite a number of investment pledges from other economies coming to invest in South Africa, but we yet have to see foreign direct investment and all of this in the country for it to grow. Given that we cannot generate the resources, as a small open economy, you should be able to attract a lot of investment, a lot of funds from abroad. So now I'm going to speak a little bit about, we put into application a little bit of all the facts that we have gone through, mainly for emerging commodity exporters such as South Africa and Brazil and Russia and so on. The type of model that you can think about it for those commodity exporting economies. So, of course, in terms of your macro, you sort of think, mainstream macro, you have your production function, your indifference curve, utility function, and then you have general equilibrium. But of course, when you model commodity exporting economies, you need to think a little bit, what are those features of the economy that you want to model out, and what is it that you want to focus on? So in this particular work, we focus on one of the main sectors that would be important for commodity exporting economies. And hence, you have a dual sector economy, that is an economy that consists of both a non-commodity sector, a goods sector, and a commodity sector. And the main analysis here is to look at how commodity price shock translate to the macroeconomy. So for instance, if you look at the first presentation, the booming commodity price shock in Brazil 2002-2010, mainly when many big emerging market economies such as China and India were growing, they have a faster demand for commodity products such as platinum, oil, coal, and so on. So you will have booming commodity price. And hence, one of the key questions that you want to ask is how does that translate to your macroeconomy? What are the transmission mechanisms for it? In the literature, when you have a commodity price shock, the first big effect is a wealth effect. A wealth effect because your production increases, price increase, supply increase, production increase, and it brings wealth to the country. If you have a government that relies on resources from commodity sector, it sort of boosts the revenue to the government. So that's the first effect that we have in the model, and it is in line with the traditional literature. The second effect is in terms of what does it do to your finance, in terms of your network. So when you have a booming commodity price, what happens to your finance, your borrowing constraint, the one that increases your wealth and your net worth, what it does is that it decreases the rate at which you can borrow from the external world. And that's given by your country risk premium. For instance, the country risk premium in South Africa or Brazil is a difference between the rate of interest in South Africa and, for instance, the United States. So that would be the country premium. Yeah? So a country, if you think about crisis, financial crisis situation, that's when your premium, your credit premium hike, because you're in very bad financial stress, and your premium hike and it's very bad. So you can think about the same for a country. Has booming commodity price, it's sort of lower your country premium, the rate at which you can borrow from the rest of the world, and given that the rate of interest falls, that decreases the price of your consumption and investment, and it sort of boosts domestic absorption. So that also causes your output to increase more. So that's the second effect. The third effect that we sort of implement in the literature is a bit of what happened to your financial sector. So in terms of your financial sector, we are going to make the main distinction here that given that you have a commodity and a non-commodity sector, we will think about the commodity sectors that comprise of very big companies, Rio Tinto, BHP Billiton, and all those big industries. So you can think about these industries or this particular sector, it can borrow on world market, and hence it does not face the usual friction that your non-commodity sector is going to face. So the non-commodity sector is going to face a friction on the local market because it's constrained to borrow on the local market. If you look at South African data, namely 50% of the small and medium enterprise don't even have access to the bank, so what they have access to is to microfinance. So it's a good approximation to say that the non-commodity sector face the credit friction on the local economy. But the booming commodity price, what you will see is that it also brings this credit friction down. It brings your credit premium down. It allows this sector to be able to grow better, and it booms the economy. So while this is good, you can think about it exacerbating business cycles. And when you think about monetary policy, what monetary policy tries to do is to constrain a bit the variance that you have. So we are speaking about a positive commodity price shock, and you have variance in terms of your inflation rate and other output and all that. But you can also think about a negative commodity shock, whereby then you can engineer monetary policy to constrain those variants. So we have all of this, and I'm going to go through the facts. We won't go through the model, because the model will be explained in words. And in terms of policy analysis, if you think about a commodity price shock, what a commodity price increase does is that it appreciates your real exchange rate. Yeah? It appreciates your real exchange rate. It makes your import costs lower, and hence your import price fall. What it does, it causes deflation to the economy. So given that you have deflation in the economy, you would want to engineer monetary policy to counteract these deflationary pressures, even though the economy is booming. And then we'll compare inflation targeting that we have in South Africa and Brazil, for instance, at the moment. We'll compare that to price level targeting, i.e. a regime that targets a price level. It is a counterfactual, but the model is estimated with inflation targeting. So if you look at the commodity sector in South Africa, 60% of the export of the economy consists of commodity. So South Africa is one of the biggest commodity exporters in terms of platinum. It's also a very big producer of gold and diamond. It's the 6th largest producer of coal and world's producer of chromium. In terms of how commodity price shock translates to the macroeconomy, same as Brazil, it has huge impact on the GDP. So when commodity price change, it has a big impact on your output. And we are going to show that next with some pictures. Then we speak about the access to finance from the commodity and non-commodity sector. And we also did mention that monetary policy in South Africa is whereby the authority target inflation between 3 to 6%. So that's a simple correlation between commodity price growth and real GDP. And you can see that this fact is not only noticed in South Africa, but in a number of Latin American countries, you've got the same picture. Namely that, when you have increased commodity price, you have increasing real GDP. And these are the projected prices of commodities on the market. So if you think about prior to 2015 and even prior to that when commodity prices were booming, and then prices have been coming down quite a bit in terms of platinum prices because the demand from booming emerging countries have been cut quite a bit, and that explains it. This is a simple regression of the second channel by which commodity price shock affects the macroeconomy. As we say, an increase in commodity price would decrease your country risk premium, i.e. the rate at which you can borrow on the world market. And these are numbers for South Africa whereby you can see that increasing commodity price decreases the real spread, i.e. the rate at which the country can borrow on the world market, and it's beneficial for it to borrow now. And these numbers, though they are not large here, they are much larger for Latin American countries, for instance. If you take Chile and other countries, they are much bigger. And this one is regressing the commodity price on your credit premium. And you can see also that it has a negative impact. Namely that booming commodity price tend to bring the credit premium that you face on local market. And these are a bit of business cycle correlation. So when you model those general equilibrium macro model, you want to see how do you mimic the business cycle properties of those economies. So in commodity exporting economies, what you usually see is that when commodity price goes up, output of course goes up, consumption goes up, investment goes up. But funnily enough, your trade balance goes counter-cyclical. That is, it decreases. And this is sort of pervading effect that you see among many countries. So Schmidt-Rowe and Uribe have a paper whereby they run a panel of 50, 60 countries, and counter-cyclical trade balance is true. And this is one of the facts that you would want to explain when you build a market. How do you have the counter-cyclical trade balance? That's when output is increasing, but your domestic absorption, your consumption and investment is increasing more than output, so that it produces this counter-cyclical trade balance. How do you have that? Is by the second channel, which means that when commodity price increase, it decreases the rate at which you can borrow, and hence that boosts consumption and investment that causes it to increase much more than your output, causing a counter-cyclical trade balance. So it's not a bad thing to have a counter-cyclical trade balance. And this would be a bit a country premium relationship here. That is when you have commodity price increase and the rate of interest fall. Given that we have this problem of deflation after commodity price increase, then you want to compare what are the different monetary regimes that would bring about better stabilization in your economy. That is, lower inflation variance or better price level stability. Though price level targeting has not been adopted across countries, there's a huge literature that compare price level targeting to inflation targeting. The difference between price level targeting and inflation targeting arises when you have shock to the economy. So imagine that you have a 2% target, inflation target. If you have a 2% inflation target, and your price level goes up 2%, it's an inflation targeting, and price level targeting are the same. Yeah, there's no difference. The only thing is different when you have shock. Imagine you have a 2% inflation target, and then you have an unexpected positive shock to inflation. What happened? Your inflation jumped. With inflation targeting, what happened is at the following period, it's called bygone or bygone. If you have a 2% inflation target, you have 3% yesterday due to a shock. Tomorrow, what do you expect the inflation rate to be? If you have tradable policies, 2%. Yeah? If you have tradable policies, it's 2%. With price level targeting is different. If you shoot up above the price level, you have to bring it back to the price level. That's why the next period you're going to expect that the monetary authority is going to undershoot the 2% because it needs to bring it back to the price level here. So when you have inflationary pressure, there's a self-correcting adjustment mechanism with price level targeting that brings it back to the price level. That's what explains that with inflation targeting you have sort of a real unit root. You have unit root in the price level anyway, but your price level, you don't have a grip on it, whereas with price level targeting, you have a good grip on it. And that's of course, if with a commodity price shock, instead of having, inflationary pressures, then you have a deflation, it should below it. Then what happens the following period, given that you have deflation, the following period, people are going to expect that the authority are going to bring the price level up to shoot above this 2% inflation target. What that does, given that you expect inflation in the future, if you believe that price setters change their price based on what expected change in price is and some aggregate demand pressure, so if you have deflation, but you expect the government to the monetary authority to increase inflation in the future, so you expect inflation in the future, and hence price setters today would have some inflationary pressures. What that does, the deflation that you cause is not so much of a big deflation. It's going to be a lower deflation because of the self-correcting adjustment mechanism of higher inflation that translate into actual inflation and hence cause the deflation to be lower. And you will see that this property sort of do much better in terms of the wealthy analysis for inflation variance in the market. So this is sort of the setup that we spoke about. You've got this two sector, and you sort of explore this third channel of commodity price shock and then compare those different monthly regimes, inflation target, price level targeting, and nominal GDP targeting. So nominal GDP targeting also is quite influential with work by Macau and Nelson and so on. So this is a bit the setup of the model. So what we said earlier is that you have to, when you try to look at commodity exporters, you have to move a little bit away from the conventional models that you have in mind, which is sort of one aggregate production function, one indifference curve, and general equilibrium and so on. You need to bring in the important features of those commodity exporters, mainly a dual sector. So you have a commodity sector and a goods sector, the wholesale sector, and you have the consumers that consume, supply labor, and they invest in home and abroad. The credit friction mainly is in the goods market here, not in the commodity market. So we will assume that those producers in the goods sector, when they borrow, they are going to face the credit friction from local bank. So that's because of the asymmetry of information that producers and bank have. So bank has sort of an asymmetric information into observing the productivity of those producers, and that leads to costly enforcement and so on. Your final good, of course, is a basket of local imported goods. And to motivate monetary policy in this model, you need some form of price rigidities, yeah? Namely nominal rigidities, because for aggregate demand to have effect, it should be that you have some form of price setting. So if you have price setting, what it says is that producers are going to supply at whatever this price is, and therefore a demand curve of monetary policy or demand management policy can shift around and engineer some form of stabilization policies in the economy. So to motivate those nominal rigidities, you're all aware of that, you need some form of price setting behavior, which is a causal price setting, which is the usual mechanism of monopolistic competition that you assume in this model. So I'm not going to go through that. It's a bit boring, but please forgive me because I engineered the lecture slides in a way that I thought that there would be students from our preliminary years. So when you have a commodity price shock, if you have a commodity price shock, this is a benchmark model. That is a model that has all those three effects. Namely, those three effects are the competitiveness effect, namely when your commodity price increases, then producers having increasing price expand output, and what we see in Brazil and South Africa during booming commodity price is increasing output. Yeah? So that's the first effect, which is competitiveness effect. So the benchmark model includes the competitiveness effect. It also includes the borrowing cost term effect, namely that the country can borrow at lower premium, and what that does with the benchmark model, it causes the biggest change in output. Why? Because your consumption and your investment, and your investment increases tremendously, and produces this bigger increase in output. But we have this third effect, which is a financial market effect, and this you can understand it in terms of sectoral output. So financial market effect, if you have a positive commodity price shock, it brings your credit premium down. So your credit premium goes down for the non-commodity goods sector. And that allows, of course, output to go even further. Nevertheless, in this model, because of the constraint of the economy, if you look at the sectoral output, i.e. output in the commodity sector, and output in the goods sector, you would see that they go in the opposite direction. Not because of the constraint of the model, and because of the Dutch disease problem. Yeah? The Dutch disease problem means that the expanding sector draws resources away from the other sector. So in this framework here, you have the commodity sector is going to draw factor input labor and capital from other sector, the good sector, and therefore cause the good sector to fall. Nevertheless, because this output increase is so big, it causes a boom in the country. But you do have the Dutch disease effect. I don't know whether you agree with it or not, but it's sort of thing in the model. What you have with the benchmark model is also a counter-cyclical trade balance, mainly because your consumption and investment increase more than your output when combined. It produces a counter-cyclical trade balance. If you negate the country risk premium channel, namely that commodity price does not have an impact at the rate at which you borrow on the market, if you negate that, you do have output consumption increase, investment increase, but what you have a positive trade balance. And this would be counterfactual. It will not show the facts that you have in the data. So you need those two effects to produce that. If we next compare the different monetary regimes in terms of which one is doing the best into decreasing the variance of inflation and output, the first one is the Taylor rules that target inflation rates, the ones that we have in South Africa and the ones that we have in Brazil. You got a commodity price shock that increases output. You have a real exchange rate appreciation that causes your price of imports to fall. It causes deflation. So with price level, with inflation targeting, you got, and also across all those different regimes, you're going to have deflation. What happens with inflation targeting, given that you don't have this self-correcting mechanism of deflationary pressures, what happens is that you suffer much more deflationary pressures. So inflation rate falls a lot, which means that you have to cut down your nominal rate of interest even further. Yeah? So that causes changes in welfare. Yeah? Later we'll look at welfare, but you can see the impact on welfare. What happens with price level targeting, given that if you have inflation, you have deflation today, but what people are going to expect next period is that you're going to bring back inflation. What happens is that actual inflation or actual deflation is going to be much lower. What that does, it does not move your nominal rate of interest much. And given that you don't move your nominal interest rate much, it don't destabilize your financial market. So this can be seen a bit, if you look at these are the variances that you obtain from those variables in this general equilibrium model. So if you looked at inflation, for instance, you can see that price level targeting dominates inflation targeting a lot. But of course, if you go to according to the usual measure of welfare, which is output and consumption, inflation targeting is doing a little bit better, or quite better. Why? Because you move your nominal rate of interest so much, but by that you also destabilize inflation and you destabilize the financial market. So these are the remarks, namely, with price level target, with commodity price change, you do have those booming effects that we saw, the professor that presented in the first talk. He spoke about the booming economics that Brazil have. The same goes for South Africa. So because those three different channels through which it works out. But also we compare price level targeting and inflation targeting to show you which one brings sort of better welfare in terms of inflation variance to the country. So this would be a bit of the talk. I don't know how much time I have, and whether we want to further for discussion.
It's up to you. Okay, we can open it. So let's go. Where the mic? Probably mark your line if you want to raise some comments. 10 minutes about South African economy as well. Up to you.
Well,
Mark Line is a professor at the University of Cape Town.
let me see how I can complement the. Sorry, has mentioned.
Please come here.
At the beginning of his talk, he went over some interesting facts about the labor market. And you saw some figures there of, there's a narrow definition of unemployment, which was about 28%, going up to a broader definition of about 37, you know, and that depends on how many people, a lot of people who are not working are of course not technically unemployed because they choose to not work. This is the housewife, stay-at-home phenomenon. But these numbers are huge. 28% unemployment to 38% unemployment. And this raises some very big questions in my mind. How do you survive? And this has been persistent for a number of years in South Africa, at least over 20 to 25%, going back to 1994. So in fact, the unemployment figures probably have gotten worse than since 1994. And of course, the government gives out a lot of grants to soften this blow. But when we look back at other crises, places like Greece, we saw the unemployment rate goes to over 25%. Even the depression in the United States in the 1930s, we're talking about 25+%. So this is an astounding situation that actually baffles, surprised me to a large extent. And there's been attempts to try to explain this in terms of like a dual economy model. Now, in a lot of developing countries, there's an informal sector which absorbs a lot of unemployment. And people who might be registered as unemployed, they're actually working in the informal economy. That's not quite the case in South Africa. They're actually very, the government's very tight on collecting taxes and keeping the informal sector to something, to a very low number. There's estimates of between 5 and 10%. Whereas in a lot of African countries, the informal sector can be 50% of the economy. So this should raise a lot of questions for us. I'm not sure if you have a real answer to this or not. You can raise some questions and we can think about it.
Obviously, you raise a very important point. If you think about the South African economy back in the days prior to 1994, we sort of been subsisting, and suddenly you have sort of a transformation with urbanization, and people have to move out from the rural sector, and the influx on the labor force. So of course this is there was a huge hike in unemployment, namely because women were allowed to participate in the labor market. So these are sort of the facts. Nevertheless, we also have declining sectors like we saw, like manufacturing and things like that. So a bit in terms of the origin of the country, namely that we move quite quick, like subsistence, and move people out from rural areas to townships, with a hike in unemployment rate.
So there's been a big urbanization in South Africa, more participation in the labor force that has led to unemployment. But in sort of the classical, neoclassical economics world, wages fall, and so employment can go up and the market clears. But that doesn't happen. See, so this is the interesting phenomenon. Why don't wages fall in South Africa? Wages are quite high. Higher than in a lot of other emerging markets. So there's something peculiar going on, and there's something like, there's several hundred minimum wages in South Africa. There's a lot of interference in the labor market has a lot of rigidities. And I think part of this effect of high unemployment is a reflection of these rigidities in the labor market with the intention of trying to be fair to people and setting minimum wages, not just one minimum wage, but there's minimum wages for all different types of industries and different types of workers. And the minimum wage is often set nationally as opposed to regionally. In fact, a lot of bargaining, wage bargaining, is national bargaining instead of regional bargaining. So that means somebody in a poor part of the country, in a rich part of the country, in the big urban centers where there's more productivity, the cost of living is higher, companies can actually afford to pay higher wages. But in poorer areas which need unemployment, they can't pay those same high wages. But legally, they're required to. So it leads to a lot of problems of this, I think this national wage bargaining, lots of minimum wages, and it's created some sort of duality in the country that at the same time as we have a surplus of unskilled people, there's actually some shortages, there's notable shortages of skilled people, and they get quite high wages. So this is a very South African phenomena. I mean, it's a very problematic one. And yet, average incomes in South Africa, when we looked at GDPs per capita, probably, well, they're emerging markets. I think they were higher than China last I looked. I mean, they're probably similar to Brazil, but we're talking about $5,000 to $6,000 per person per capita, and that's with 38% unemployment. So this is a very peculiar phenomena about South Africa that hasn't been resolved yet, which is problematic.